it's Saturday, November 28th. I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving, and I hope you didn't overeat like I did. We're still in this election turmoil, and it's ongoing and probably will be for several more weeks. And I kind of wonder, who's at fault for all this election turmoil? I don't think it's the parties themselves. I know, and I've talked to Democrats that are just as appalled as I am over this voter fraud. We listened to the experts, and they said over and over, mail-in elections have the greatest potential for fraud. Did we demand our local officials open the polls? Instead of purchasing new voting machines, fancy voting signs, and spending time spreading propaganda about COVID-19, could that time and money have been spent on personal protective equipment for the workers and citizens that wish to follow their president's recommendations to not open up mail-in voting? At the time of their decision in our county to not open the polls, we had less than 30 cases of COVID. In our own community, public activities were ongoing. We only had less than 30 cases of COVID, but think, folks, most of these activities are still ongoing, even though we're under some guidelines by the state right now. Were the polls closed due to COVID, or could there have been other reasons? One of our voting districts was open only the day before election for voting. It was closed on election day. Think about that, folks. When President Trump said he was going to drain the swamp in Washington, you don't skim the water off the top when draining a swamp. You drain it from the bottom up. We need to recall these officials that supported mail-in voting and the high potential for fraud. We need to recall county commissioners, election administrators, that all supported this, in spite of even lawsuits being filed by their own party. Their oath of office was just a formality to them. These folks don't support or follow the Constitution. This is happening all over the country. These politicians only ran as Republicans to get your vote. Most of them never supported or even know the platform of their claimed party. But we're not stuck with these lying hypocrites for their term. In Montana, we have recall. We need to use it. And remember, voting absentee is different than the mail-in voting that we had during this election. With absentee voting, you must first request an absentee ballot and attest to your residency. In mail-in voting, ballots are mailed to all registered voters' address, whether they live there or not. And when returned, who knows who filled them out? We've seen in the news where signatures were not compared or didn't match, but the ballots were counted, most likely by someone that didn't know. Just a little story. A few years back, I went to a polling place to cast my vote. I just happened to be wearing my NRA hat. Guess what, folks? They wouldn't let me in. This happened in Montana. My hat was making a political statement. How many counters and poll workers did you see in the news wearing Biden face masks, Biden t-shirts, Biden hats? This is not legitimate, folks. They were making a political statement while working in a governmental capacity. Yes, folks, I back President Trump and those that have filed the many lawsuits to protect our constitutional rights to vote and for our vote to count. The term lawsuit is used referencing to a civil action brought in a court of law in which a plaintiff or a party who claims to have incurred loss as a result of a defendant's actions demands a legal or equitable remedy. Legal remedy. Notice it says court of law, not county commissioners, not the elite that tell you how or why to vote for their own personal gain. A real quick thought on the transparency of our local government. Remember during the COVID shutdown, our county purchased equipment to place the commissioner meetings on the internet. Where did that go? Why aren't they doing that now? I think Zoom could be used to get these meetings out to the public. Why not? This should be done whether we're dealing with COVID or not. In Zoom, just like in a meeting, you can raise your hand and be called on for a comment. There's also chat during the meeting where folks can speak their opinion with others. Ever wonder why our county commissioner meetings are held during the day when most of us are working? Ever wonder why the published agendas don't really describe the totality of these meetings? Lawsuits have been filed in other Montana counties to force transparency. Did you know there are accepted ways in conducting county commissioner meetings? Not willy-nilly with their vote already in place on a given matter. Did you know it's illegal for county commissioners to meet in private and discuss county issues? Do you know that they have to permit and give opportunity for public comment? And it doesn't matter how many people wish to comment. They have to allow time for those comments. They even give themselves pay raises while rejecting raises for other county employees. These are your elected public servants, and you should be informed. Have you seen the minutes published in the newspaper from our county commissioner meetings? Are there agendas published in the newspaper? All I see are things posted in a private Facebook forum where members of the community are denied comment and/or access. This is not transparency. Time to think for yourselves, folks. Demand transparency, the real transparency, not what you hear through the rumor mill. We have little, if any, citizen participation in what our county government is doing. We all should have a voice. Don't let the elite control you or your vote. The Urban Dictionary defines elite as a small group of people who hold a disproportionate amount of control over the livelihood of the rest of biological species. That means us. The elite themselves are tuned by a very small group of key players. Those key players are the core of an intricate set of overlapping political, economic, and military elite circles. Now, as of today, we have 80 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in our county. I'm sure there's more coming. And, earlier I mentioned about purchasing voting machines in our county. You're going to be shocked, folks, but these machines are called express votes, made and distributed by a company called ES&S. These machines have been questioned for their reliability over and over. There's also questions as to who owns that company, ES&S. There may be connections to Dominion. We know for a fact that some of their materials used in the manufacture of these machines are made in China. Your election administrator purchased these machines. So, I guess we need to find out why. Why were these machines purchased? They're not used, and if they are, it's very little. We had machines already. And then, I guess we're going to put the rest of this off until next week. I haven't been able to get out to the old Milwaukee Bridge, and I want to take some pictures. When will they fix the old Milwaukee Bridge? Somebody, during their campaign, told us all that they secured a grant to repair that bridge. What's the holdup, county commissioners? And the next thing we're going to be discussing is the public safety increase on your property taxes. And I'm sure we'll still be talking about this election. Thanks for joining us.